Does Terence Crawford even have a chance to beat Canelo? This has been a conversation since the fight was announced, and will continue to be a conversation until someone's hand is raised in September. But I really want to dig deep into this topic and explore ways that Crawford can technically win. First, let's look at the boxers themselves. Terence Crawford is a former undisputed champion in 2 weight classes. He is already a legend in the sport. However, he is 37 years old, very inactive, fighting once a year. His last fight was last year against Israel Majimov, a debut at 154 pounds. Even though he won, it did go to the cards and it looked like one of Crawford's hardest fights in his career. Instead of getting another fight at 154, or bumping up to 160, or bumping up to 168 to fight some C-level tune-up, he decides to fight Canelo Alvarez, another undisputed champion and a legend in the sport. Canelo has been winning lately, but not in the way that we're used to. His last knockout was against Caleb Plant 4 years ago. Since then, he was able to send guys like Jaime Munguia, Jermell Charlo, and Edgar Berlanga to the canvas, but he would go to the cards in all 3 of those fights. His last fight was against William Skull, and he won, but what a completely boring fight that was. Before we continue, I want to give a shout out to my sponsor, that's Hayabusa, some of the best boxing equipment out there. Make sure to use the code ALEXD, ALEXD, all caps, to get a percentage off your order. Link is down below in the description. So how does Terence Crawford win? Crawford and Canelo are basically the same height. Crawford's about a half an inch taller than him, but he has a 4-inch reach advantage on Canelo. If we were to compare the boxers by attributes, Crawford has the much better jab. He probably also has the better straight right hand. He also has the footwork, and I think IQ-wise, I think him and Canelo, Canelo's whole experience, he's been fighting forever, but Terence Crawford really has good IQ. When it comes to the chin, when it comes to power, when it comes to left hook, Canelo definitely has that, especially with him fighting at 168 for 5 years now, while Terence Crawford, this will be his first time at 168. So Canelo, even though he's about the same size as Terence Crawford, he's much more comfortable, much more natural at 168 compared to Crawford is. Now, of course, Canelo, his power is not there. We already talked about that. His power is not what it used to be. All right, 5-6 years ago, Canelo's power was insane. Okay, insane. One of the strongest, hardest Mexican boxers to ever live. Alrighty, and if we were thinking about this conversation a few years ago, Canelo versus Terence Crawford, we'd be thinking it's suicide for Terence Crawford, and some of us are still thinking that. But of course, Canelo, his power is just simply not there, and that's alright. So now Canelo needs to adjust and transition to the actual boxing game. He needs to actually box. But to box a guy like Terence Crawford, one of the best boxers over the past decade, it's going to be very tough. So what could Terence Crawford do is to box Canelo. He needs to box Canelo. There's a big conversation, of course, lately about the running in boxing. I think we're going to see a shortened ring. I definitely think we're going to see that. And if that happens, that's going to definitely favor Canelo. Now, I'm not saying Terence Crawford's a runner, but he likes to stick and move. He likes to use his footwork. He likes to move around. Not a runner. Definitely not a runner. But that's just how he is. That's his style. I think if he could be able to do that in a bigger ring, I think that it could actually work in his favor. But this smaller ring, it's going to be hard for him to move like that without Canelo constantly walking you down, which he's going to do. I'm sure Canelo's team, Eddie Reynoso, is going to be telling Canelo, cut off the ring every chance you get. How Terence Crawford can win is just simply by outboxing, keeping Canelo on the outside, constantly circling, using that great jab of yours, using that reach advantage of the 1-2. Of course, Terence Crawford has the conditioning for that, but the conditioning at 168, when Canelo starts to wear down on him, alright, starts to use a lot of those punches, potentially looks to break down Crawford in the 6th and 7th round, that's going to be trouble for Terence Crawford. Terence Crawford is not going to stop Canelo. He's not going to knock him out. Canelo has one of the best chins in boxing, probably the best chin in boxing stuff. 34 years old. He was never hurt. He was hurt against Miguel Cotto's brother, I will say that, but that was over a decade ago. If he can't be hurt against Triple G, if he can't get hurt against Beterbiev, if he can't get hurt against Bivol, Munguia, all those fighters he's been fighting lately, if he can't get hurt against those guys, what's a little 154-pound Crawford going to do? So like I said multiple times already, Crawford could win by trying to outbox Canelo. I think Crawford is the much more skilled and better boxer than Canelo. But the problem for Crawford with Canelo, like I said, he already is natural at 168 for about 5 years now. He's much stronger. He's more powerful. He has a good chin. He's going to walk you down and take those punches, and you better be ready. You better be conditioned to take punches like that. You better be sparring guys at 175, 190 pounds in camp up until this fight. You got to be getting used to those punches. I know Terence Crawford's not scared. I know Terence Crawford's a tough fighter. But, I mean, it's just reality. From 154 to 168, it's a scary jump. We saw Charlo do that with Canelo, and we saw Charlo take a knee, hit the deck. And I think Charlo is actually a stronger fighter than Terence Crawford. A more powerful fighter, more natural fighter at 168, I should say, than Terence Crawford. It is what it is, though. It's going to be a very interesting fight. I think Canelo walks him down. I don't know if Canelo's going to stop him, but I think it's going to be that power and that breaking down, the wearing down, the constant punches, walking you down, trapping you, cornering you, cutting off the ring is going to get to Crawford. And I think we see a 7-5 or 8-4 type of fight. I'm hoping this is going to be an interesting fight. I think the fight's a bit overrated. We're seeing more press conferences, and the press conferences are doing their job. It's making us fans think, okay, this is going to be a 50-50 fight. I don't think it's a 50-50 fight. I think it's a 65-35 in favor of Canelo. But, hey, I want to see a good fight. I can't complain. If this ends up being a great fight and Crawford somehow wins, how could I complain? I want Canelo to win. I've been a big fan of Canelo forever, and I think he will win. But if Crawford pulls this off, how could I hate? That'd be amazing for boxing. One of the craziest things in boxing ever. Allegiant Stadium, all right, 60-some thousand people, millions around the world watching on Netflix, and Crawford pulls that off. How could I hate, right? It's going to be interesting. And expect a lot more videos of this fight coming up for me. Expect a lot more breakdowns, predictions. Maybe my prediction is going to change. I don't think so. I still think Canelo's going to walk him down and smother him, but we'll see what happens. Let me know down below in the comments what you guys think. Who's going to win this fight? What are some other ways that Crawford could beat Canelo other than just outboxing him? All right, could Crawford actually stop him? I don't think so, but let me know down below in the comments. Make sure to subscribe, guys. I'm out. Peace.